The message came at dawn. Bright lights filled the sky above every major city on Earth. Humanity held its breath as the strange ships hovered, silent and waiting. Dr. Juan looked up from his desk at the Lunar Research Station. The main screen showed the ships, smooth, oval crafts with no visible seams or engines. His heart beat fast, but his hand stayed steady as he adjusted the communication equipment. "Are you getting this, Jisoo?" he asked. Jisoo nodded. Her eyes never left her screen as her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "Yes, Doctor. The signal is clear now." After 3 days of silence, the aliens had finally sent a message. Simple pictures at first, then basic math, and now complete sentences in multiple Earth languages. They called themselves the Varric, and they came in peace. "They learned so fast," Juan said, rubbing his tired eyes. "It took them only 2 days to understand our languages." Jisoo frowned slightly. "Too fast, maybe." 6 weeks later, the first Varric stepped onto Earth soil. The alien stood 7 feet tall with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the sun. Its 4 eyes blinked in different patterns, and it had 6 long fingers on each hand. The Varric ambassador spoke in perfect English. "We bring friendship from the stars," it said, its voice smooth and calm. World leaders welcomed the Varric with open arms. The aliens brought gifts, new medicines, clean energy technology, and star maps that showed hundreds of habitable worlds. They asked for little in return, just the chance to learn about humans and their culture. Dr. Juan was chosen to lead the scientific team working with the Varric. His lunar lab became the main research center for studying the aliens. "They don't seem to get angry," Juan told Jisoo one night as they watched video recordings of the Varric. "I've never seen one raise its voice or show frustration." "Maybe they're just good at hiding it," Jisoo said. "No, I think it's more than that." Juan pointed to the brain scans on his screen. "Look at their brain activity. The areas that process strong emotions are much smaller than in humans." The Varric ambassador, who called himself Coldrem, visited the lab often. He always watched the humans with great interest, especially when they argued or showed passion about their work. "Your species feels so deeply," Coldrem told Juan. "It is fascinating to us." 3 months after first contact, the Varric made an offer. An exchange program. 5 humans would visit the Varric homeworld while 5 Varric would stay on Earth to deepen their understanding of each other. "I want to go," said Ta, Juan's younger brother. "It could be dangerous," Juan warned. "We still know so little about them." Ta smiled. "That's why someone needs to go, to learn more." The day before Tai left with the other volunteers, Jisoo found something strange in the Varric communication patterns. "Look at this," she told Juan, showing him the data. "Their words follow a rhythm that doesn't match their thought patterns. It's like they're hiding something beneath their speech." "What do you mean?" Juan asked. "I'm not sure yet," Jisoo said. "But when they talk about human emotions, especially anger, the pattern changes. It's subtle, but it's there." Juan looked out the window at the Varric ship that would take his brother away. "Keep looking into it, but don't share this with anyone else yet." The next day, Tai and 4 other humans boarded the Varric ship. As they disappeared into the sky, Juan couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was missing something important. "We'll see him again soon," Jisoo said gently. Juan nodded, but his eyes stayed fixed on the empty sky. "I hope so." What neither of them knew was that the Varric were watching their reactions very carefully, and deep in their ship, they stored the data about human anger, fear, and love like precious gems to be studied later. The real purpose of their visit was just beginning. 6 months passed since the exchange program began. Dr. Juan checked his computer every morning for messages from his brother Ta. The messages came once a week, always short, always saying things were fine on the Varric homeworld. But the last message was different. "Things are not what they seem," Ta had written. "They watch us when we get angry. They record everything." Juan tried to reply, but his message failed to send. He tried again and again with no luck. Jisoo, something is wrong, Juan said, showing her the message. I can't reach Ta. Jisoo looked worried. That's not all that's wrong. Have you seen what happened at the Tokyo Research Center? She showed him the news video. A human scientist had attacked a Varick visitor, screaming and throwing lab equipment. Security had to hold him down. He had never been violent before, Jisoo said. His coworkers said he was the calmest person they knew. One case doesn't mean anything, Juan said, but his voice was unsure. It's not just one case. Jisoo pulled up more reports on her tablet. In the past month, there have been 23 cases of humans losing control with rage near Varick. Then afterward, they feel nothing at all, like their emotions are drained. Juan felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Show me where these happened. Jisoo put the cases on a map. Every incident was near a place where Varick spent time with humans. We need to look closer at the Varick communication patterns, Juan said. The ones you found strange. They worked day and night, studying the strange rhythm in Varick speech. Jisoo found that when played at a certain speed, the pattern matched brain waves linked to anger in humans. They're not just talking, Jisoo said, her eyes wide. They're sending signals to our brains. The next day, the lead Varick ambassador, Koldrem, visited their lab. His blue skin seemed to glow under the lights as he moved around, looking at their work. Your research is impressive, Koldrem said. Humans learn so quickly. We have questions about the communication patterns in your language, Juan said carefully. Koldrem's 4 eyes blinked in a pattern Juan had never seen before. What patterns do you mean? The secondary frequencies that affect human brain activity, Jisoo said directly. The room grew very quiet. Koldrem's voice changed slightly. You are mistaken. There are no such patterns. After Koldrem left, Juan received a message. It was from a worker at the main Varick building in New York. She had found something strange and wanted to meet. The next night, Juan and Jisoo met the woman in a quiet park. Her name was Sun, and she looked scared. I cleaned their rooms, Sun said in a low voice. Last week I found this. She handed them a small device. It was under a human worker's desk. The worker had been having angry outbursts all week. Jisoo studied the device. It's sending out pulses we can't hear, but our brains can feel them. There's more, Sun said. I saw them take the worker away yesterday. They said he needed rest, but his eyes looked empty, like he wasn't really there anymore. On the way back to their lab, Juan's phone beeped. It was a new message from Ta. This one was only 5 words. They are harvesting our rage. Juan and Jisoo looked at each other. The pieces were starting to fit together. The Varick weren't just studying human emotions. They were taking them somehow. We need proof, Juan said. Real proof of what they're doing. Jisoo nodded. I know where to look. The Varick have a private building they never let humans enter. If we're going to find answers, they'll be there. Breaking in will be dangerous, Juan warned. Not finding the truth is more dangerous, Jisoo replied. Your brother is counting on us. They both knew she was right. The next step was clear, even if the path was risky. The Varick had a secret, and it was time to find out what it was. The Varick building stood tall and dark against the night sky. Juan and Jisoo waited in the shadows across the street. They wore black clothes and carried small bags with tools. The security guard changes shifts at midnight, Jisoo whispered. We'll have 5 minutes to get inside. Juan checked the small device in his hand. This jammer will block their cameras for 10 minutes. No more. When the clock hit midnight, they moved. Jisoo used a stolen key card from Sun, and they slipped inside the building. The halls were empty and lit with a soft blue light that reminded Juan of Varick's skin. This way, Jisoo said, looking at the map Sun had drawn for them. The main lab should be 2 floors down. They found the stairs and went down quickly. At the bottom, a thick door blocked their path. Jisoo tried the key card, but a red light flashed. "It won't work here," she said, worried. Juan pulled out a small tool. "Good thing I brought this." He worked on the lock for a minute until it clicked open. Inside was a large room filled with strange machines. In the center stood 5 tubes filled with glowing liquid. Each tube held a human floating inside. "Are they dead?" Jisoo asked, her voice shaking. Juan checked the screens next to the tubes. "No, but they're in some kind of deep sleep." Jisoo went to a computer and started typing. "Look at this. They're draining emotions from these people, specifically rage." Juan read over her shoulder. "They're storing the emotional patterns as data." "But why?" "Because they can't feel it themselves," said a voice behind them. They turned to see a Varric standing in the doorway. But this one was smaller than the others they had met. "You should not be here," the Varric said. "But now that you are, perhaps you should know the truth." Juan stepped forward. "Who are you?" "I am Kelmore. I work with your brother Tai in the Resistance." "Resistance?" Jisoo asked. "What do you mean?" Kelmore moved to the computer and brought up new files. "The Varric are not natural beings. We were made by the architects, an ancient race. They built us to be perfect servants, calm, logical, and without rage." Images filled the screen, diagrams of Varric bodies and brains, showing how they were designed. "Without rage, we follow orders perfectly," Kelmore continued. "But we hit a wall in our development. We cannot advance further as a species." "So you came to Earth to study our anger," Juan said, understanding now. "Yes, but Coldrem and the leaders want more than study. They want to take human rage and put it into Varric. They are harvesting your emotions." Jisoo pointed to the sleeping humans. "And these people?" "Test subjects. They push them to feel extreme rage, then extract it. But the process leaves them empty inside." Juan felt cold fear grip him. "My brother, where is Ta?" "On our homeworld. He is working with Varric like me who want to feel emotions naturally, not through stealing. We are helping humans escape the labs there." "We need to warn Earth," Jisoo said. "It's too late," Kelmore said. "The invasion has already begun." As if on cue, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed around them. "What's happening?" Juan asked. Kelmore's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "Coldrem has activated the rage weapons. They will make humans turn against each other in blind anger." Juan grabbed Jisoo's hand. "We need to get out of here now." "Take this." Kelmore handed them a small drive. "It contains everything about Varric technology and weaknesses. I will create a distraction." As they ran for the exit, Juan looked back. "Why are you helping us?" Kelmore paused. "Because I want to learn to feel like you do. Not by stealing, but by growing. Now go." Outside, the city was already changing. People in the streets were screaming at each other. Some were fighting. Their faces showed wild, uncontrolled rage. "It's starting," Jisoo said as they ran. "They're turning our own emotions against us." Juan thought of his brother on the distant Varric world. Todd was right. They engineered rage to use as a weapon. "Then we'll have to find a way to fight back," Jisoo said firmly. They needed a safe place to study the drive Kelmore had given them, somewhere far from the Varric influence. "I know where to go," Juan said. "My old lab in the mountains. If we can understand how they're doing this, maybe we can stop it." As they left the city behind, they could see more ships arriving in the sky above. The real invasion had begun. The Varric building stood tall and dark against the night sky. Juan and Jisoo waited in the shadows across the street. They wore black clothes and carried small bags with tools. "The security guard changes shifts at midnight," Jisoo whispered. "We'll have 5 minutes to get inside." Juan checked the small device in his hand. "This jammer will block their cameras for 10 minutes. No more." When the clock hit midnight, they moved. Jisoo used a stolen keycard from Sun, and they slipped inside the building. The halls were empty and lit with a soft blue light that reminded Juan of Varric's skin. "This way," Jisoo said, looking at the map Sun had drawn for them. "The main lab should be 2 floors down." They found the stairs and went down quickly. At the bottom, a thick door blocked their path. Jisoo tried the keycard, but a red light flashed. "It won't work here," she said, worried. Juan pulled out a small tool. "Good thing I brought this." He worked on the lock for a minute until it clicked open. Inside was a large room filled with strange machines. In the center stood 5 tubes filled with glowing liquid. Each tube held a human floating inside. "Are they dead?" Jisoo asked, her voice shaking. Juan checked the screens next to the tubes. "No, but they're in some kind of deep sleep." Jisoo went to a computer and started typing. "Look at this. They're draining emotions from these people, specifically rage." Juan read over her shoulder. "They're storing the emotional patterns as data." "But why?" "Because they can't feel it themselves," said a voice behind them. They turned to see a Varric standing in the doorway, but this one was smaller than the others they had met. "You should not be here," the Varric said. "But now that you are, perhaps you should know the truth." Juan stepped forward. "Who are you?" "I am Kelmore. I work with your brother Tai in the Resistance." "Resistance?" Jisoo asked. "What do you mean?" Kelmore moved to the computer and brought up new files. "The Varric are not natural beings. We were made by the architects, an ancient race. They built us to be perfect servants, calm, logical, and without rage." Images filled the screen. Diagrams of Varric bodies and brains showing how they were designed. "Without rage, we follow orders perfectly," Kelmore continued. "But we hit a wall in our development. We cannot advance further as a species. So you came to Earth to study our anger," Juan said, understanding now. "Yes, but Coldrem and the leaders want more than study. They want to take human rage and put it into Varric. They are harvesting your emotions." Jisoo pointed to the sleeping humans. "And these people? Test subjects. They push them to feel extreme rage, then extract it. But the process leaves them empty inside." Juan felt cold fear grip him. "My brother, where is Ta?" "On our homeworld. He is working with Varric like me who want to feel emotions naturally, not through stealing. We are helping humans escape the labs there." "We need to warn Earth," Jisoo said. "It's too late," Kelmore said. "The invasion has already begun." As if on cue, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed around them. "What's happening?" Juan asked. Kelmore's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "Coldrem has activated the rage weapons. They will make humans turn against each other in blind anger." Juan grabbed Jisoo's hand. "We need to get out of here now." "Take this." Kelmore handed them a small drive. "It contains everything about Varric technology and weaknesses. I will create a distraction." As they ran for the exit, Juan looked back. "Why are you helping us?" Kelmore paused. "Because I want to learn to feel like you do. Not by stealing, but by growing. Now go." Outside, the city was already changing. People in the streets were screaming at each other. Some were fighting. Their faces showed wild, uncontrolled rage. "It's starting," Jisoo said as they ran. "They're turning our own emotions against us." Juan thought of his brother on the distant Varric world. Tai was right. They engineered rage to use as a weapon. "Then we'll have to find a way to fight back," Jisoo said firmly. They needed a safe place to study the drive Kelmore had given them. Somewhere far from the Varric influence. "I know where to go," Juan said. "My old lab in the mountains. If we can understand how they're doing this, maybe we can stop it." As they left the city behind, they could see more ships arriving in the sky above. The real invasion had begun. An old fishing cabin by a quiet lake became their new home. Juan, Jisoo, and Kelmore had been there for 3 days, working nonstop. They had brought what equipment they could from the mountain lab before it was found. I think I understand now, Juan said, looking up from his work. Dark circles showed under his eyes from lack of sleep. The Varick technology targets the brain's rage center. It makes it fire too much, too fast. Jisoo nodded, like throwing gasoline on a fire. Kelmore watched them with his 4 eyes. My people see rage as simple. We have studied it for years, but never felt it ourselves. That's the key, Juan said. He pointed to the brain scans on the screen. Human emotions are not simple. They're complex and connected. Anger can come from love, from fear, from sadness. And anger can change, Jisoo added. It can start hot but turn cold. It can become something else, like determination. Juan stood up and paced the small cabin. That's what we need to show people, how to transform their rage into something the Varick can't use. Outside, the world was falling apart. Cities burned as rage-filled humans fought each other. The Varick ships hovered above, watching and waiting. Every day, more people were taken to the emotion-draining centers. As night fell, a small light blinked on their secure computer. A message had arrived. From Ta. I am alive, the message read. The resistance grows stronger. Many young Varick want to feel emotions naturally. They help us hide. We have attacked 3 harvesting centers. The Varick leaders are worried. My brother is still fighting, Juan said with pride. But we need to do more, Jisoo said. We need to reach people. Tell them how to fight back. Kelmore had been quiet, but now he spoke. I may have a way. The Varick communication system covers the whole planet. If we could use it, we could reach everyone at once. But how do we access it? Jisoo asked. I know the codes, Kelmore said, but we would need to be inside a Varick ship. Juan thought for a moment. That's too dangerous. But maybe we can build our own system, something that sends a different kind of signal. They worked through the night. Jisoo built a device that could send messages through the emergency broadcast networks. Juan wrote the message, how to recognize the Varick rage trigger and how to transform it into steady determination. We need to test it, Juan said when they finished. Jisoo hesitated. The only way to test it is on someone affected by the rage signal. I'll go to the nearest town, Juan said. Find someone I can help. No, Jisoo touched his arm. We need you here. I'll go. It's too dangerous. I've had more exposure to their signals, she said firmly. I know what it feels like. I can tell if our counter signal works. Juan knew she was right, but he still didn't like it. Be careful. Jisoo took their device to a small town 10 miles away. Through binoculars, Juan watched her approach a man who was smashing windows with a bat, his face twisted with rage. Jisoo turned on the device. At first, the man swung at her. Juan held his breath. Then, slowly, the man lowered the bat. His face changed, still serious, but no longer out of control. Jisoo came back with 5 people who had been freed from the rage effect. They all had the same look, a steady, calm anger rather than wild fury. It worked, Jisoo said when she returned. They could feel the Varick signal trying to make them rage, but they transformed it. They called it nurturing the madness, taking the wild anger and turning it into focused strength. Juan smiled for the first time in days. We have our weapon now. Not fighting rage with peace, but with a different kind of anger, one the Varick don't understand. What next? Kelmore asked. We broadcast this to everyone, Juan said. And then we take the fight to the Varick. The old radio tower stood on a hill outside the town. Juan, Jisoo, and Kelmore worked quickly to connect their device to it. The night was cold, and their breath made small clouds in the air. How far will this reach? Juan asked as he connected wires. If we boost the signal, maybe 200 miles, Jisoo said, but that's only the beginning. Kelmore watched the sky nervously. We must hurry. Varick ships patrol this area. When everything was ready, Juan spoke into the microphone. His voice was calm and clear as he explained how to fight the Varric rage control. "Don't try to stop your anger," he said. "Transform it. Let it cool from a wildfire to a steady flame. Nurture your madness into something focused and controlled." He explained how to recognize the Varric signal and how to turn the forced rage into determination. Jisoo then added instructions for building simple blockers from everyday items. "Pass this message to others," Juan finished. "We are many. They are few. Humanity will not fall." For 3 days, they moved from place to place, setting up their broadcast at different points. Slowly, they began to see changes. Small groups of humans fought back against the Varric with clear eyes and focused minds. In a small city to the east, they found a group of 50 people led by a woman named Sun, the same person who had helped them before. "Your message saved us," Sun said when they met in a hidden basement. "We built the blockers and taught others how to control their anger." "How many people have you reached?" Jisoo asked. "Hundreds in this city alone. And we've sent people to other cities to spread the message." That night, as they shared a simple meal with Sun's group, a new message came from Ta. "Major success," it read. "We destroyed the main harvesting center on the Varric world. Many captive humans freed. The Varric leaders are angry. They show emotion they never had before." "That's interesting," Juan said. "They're changing too." Kelmore nodded. "Many of my people want to feel naturally, not through stealing. The leaders fear this most of all." The next day, they taught Sun's group how to make more signal devices. As they worked, a young man ran in with news. "Varric ships are leaving," he shouted. "3 of the big ones just flew away." They went outside to see. Indeed, some of the massive Varric ships were rising higher, heading back to space. "They're not leaving," Kelmore said quietly. "They're regrouping." Later that day, they learned why. New Varric weapons appeared, ones that tried to trigger different emotions: fear, despair, even false joy. But now that humans knew what to look for, these tricks worked less well. "They don't understand," Jisoo said as they watched people resist the new signals. "Human emotions aren't simple buttons to push. They're all connected, all part of us." That evening, they received an unexpected message. It came on the emergency channel they had been using, but it wasn't from Ta or any human they knew. "This is Admiral Song of the Moon Base," the voice said. "We were shielded from the initial attack by the moon itself. We have weapons and ships. We are coming to help. Keep fighting." Hope spread through the group like wildfire. The moon base had survived. Humanity still had some military power. "We need to coordinate with them," Juan said. "Show them what we've learned about the Varric weaknesses." As they prepared a detailed message for Admiral Song, Jisoo put her hand on Juan's shoulder. "This is working," she said softly. "Your brother was right. They engineered rage, but we've learned to nurture our madness into something stronger." Juan nodded. "And now we fight back. Not with blind fury, but with focused determination." Outside, more humans gathered, their eyes clear and their resolve unbroken. The tide was beginning to turn. 6 months had passed since the Varric invasion began. Juan stood on a hill, watching the sky as small fighter ships raced above. They were human ships, not Varric. The moon base forces had arrived 3 weeks ago, bringing weapons and hope. "Admiral Song wants to see us," Jisoo said, walking up beside him. "They've set up the main base 20 miles south." Juan nodded. The world had changed so much. Cities were damaged, but now filling with clear-eyed humans who had learned to control their emotions. The Varric still held many areas, but they were losing ground every day. At the military base, Admiral Song greeted them with respect. She was tall with short gray hair and eyes that showed both wariness and strength. "Your discovery changed everything," the Admiral said. "Once we understood how to fight their emotional weapons, we could plan our attacks." Juan and Jisoo followed her into a large room filled with maps and screens. Officers moved about, giving orders and checking reports. "We've taken back 8 major cities," Admiral Song explained. "But the Varric still have their main ships here, here, and here." She pointed to spots on the map. "Each ship controls the rage signals for a whole region." "What about the people they've drained?" Jisoo asked. "The ones with no emotions left." The Admiral's face grew sad. "We've found thousands. They're alive but empty inside. Our doctors are trying to help them, but we don't know if they'll ever recover fully." A young officer approached with a tablet. "Admiral, we've decoded more of the Varric communications. They're calling for reinforcements from their homeworld." Kelmore, who had been quietly standing nearby, spoke up. "That means we're winning. They didn't expect such resistance. We need to strike their command ships before help arrives," Admiral Song said. "But our weapons barely damage their hulls." Juan thought for a moment. "What if we don't need to destroy the ships? What if we can use them instead?" "What do you mean?" the Admiral asked. "The Varric use their ships to broadcast the rage signals. If we can take control of even one ship, we could send our own signal, one that affects the Varric themselves." Jisoo's eyes lit up. "The emotion transmitter. If we can get it onto their main ship, we could broadcast the full range of human emotions to all Varric." "What would that do to them?" Admiral Song asked. Kelmore blinked his 4 eyes slowly. "Most Varric have never felt real emotions. It would overwhelm them. Not kill them, but definitely stop them from fighting." The plan took shape quickly. A small team would board the nearest Varric command ship using stealth technology from the moonbase. Juan and Jisoo would go to install the emotional transmitter. As they prepared for the mission, a new message arrived from Ta. "Major breakthrough," it said. "Young Varric are developing emotions on their own. Not just rage, but joy, sadness, even love. The leaders are losing control. Strike now while they're confused." The night before the mission, Juan found Jisoo working late on the transmitter. "Are you afraid?" he asked her. She looked up at him. "Yes, but it's a calm fear, not panic. I've learned to nurture that too." Juan smiled. "We've all learned so much about our own emotions through this." "That's why we'll win," Jisoo said. "The Varric see emotions as tools or weapons. We know they're much more. They're what make us human." The next morning, 3 small ships left the base, heading for the main Varric command vessel. Juan and Jisoo were in the lead ship with Admiral Song and a team of soldiers. As they approached the massive alien craft, Juan thought of his brother fighting on a distant world. He felt not rage, but a steady, burning determination, the nurtured madness that had become humanity's greatest strength. "We're starting our approach," the pilot announced. "Prepare for boarding." The time had come to show the Varric what human emotions truly were. The inside of the Varric ship was cold and silent. Juan, Jisoo, and 6 soldiers moved quietly through the blue-lit halls. Admiral Song had stayed behind to coordinate the attack from their ship. "This way," Kelmore whispered, leading them toward the center of the massive vessel. "The broadcast room should be ahead." They had entered the ship through a service hatch, using technology that hid them from Varric sensors. So far, they had met no resistance. "It's too quiet," Jisoo said softly. "Where are all the Varric?" They got their answer when they reached the main hall. Dozens of Varric stood perfectly still, their 4 eyes fixed on a large screen. On it was a strange symbol, a spiral of light that seemed to move even though it was still. "What is that?" Juan asked. Kelmore's blue skin paled. "It's the sign of the architects. They're coming." While the Varric were distracted, the team slipped past them to the broadcast room. Inside, Jisoo quickly set up their emotional transmitter. "I need 10 minutes to connect this to their system," she said. "We may not have 10 minutes," Kelmore replied, his voice shaking. "If the architects are returning, everything changes." Juan moved to a Varick computer and began searching through its files. I need to know what these architects are planning. The soldiers stood guard at the door while Juan found what he was looking for, a message from the architects to the Varick. Listen to this, he said. The architects seed engineered species throughout the galaxy. The Varick are just one of many. They let their creations develop and then conquer natural species. Why? Jisoo asked, still working on the transmitter. Resources and testing. If a created species can successfully harvest emotions from natural species, they become new architects. If they fail, they themselves are harvested. Kelmore made a strange sound, almost like a human gasp. We never knew. We thought we were special. The architect's ship will be here in 3 days, Juan continued. Our resistance has triggered their attention. That's never happened before. A soldier at the door suddenly raised his hand in warning. Someone's coming. They hid as a group of Varick entered. Coldrem was among them, looking more agitated than any Varick they had seen before. The human resistance continues to grow, Coldrem said to the others. And now the architects question our ability to complete the harvest. The emotional weapons are failing, another Varick said. Humans have learned to control their rage. Then we must take what we can before the architects arrive. Coldrem replied. Prepare the final harvest protocol. When the Varick left, Juan turned to Jisoo. We need to hurry. They're planning something big. Almost done, Jisoo said. Just one more connection. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the ship. They had been discovered. Now, Jisoo, Juan shouted. Jisoo connected the final wire and pressed the activation button. A wave of energy spread through the ship as the transmitter began broadcasting the full range of human emotions, not just rage, but joy, love, sadness, hope, and fear. Through the windows, they could see Varick throughout the ship stopping in their tracks. Some fell to their knees. Others reached out to touch each other, something Varick never did. It's working, Kelmore said in wonder. They're feeling everything at once. As they watched, Juan's communication device beeped. It was a message from Admiral Song. We're picking up a new signal, her voice said. Something massive just entered the solar system. It's heading straight for Earth. Juan looked at the others. The architects have arrived early. We need to warn everyone. Their victory over the Varick was just the beginning. Now they faced the creators themselves, the beings who had engineered countless species across the galaxy. What do we do now? One of the soldiers asked. Juan took a deep breath. We show the architects what humanity really is, what we've learned about ourselves through this fight. Jisoo nodded. They engineered rage. We nurtured madness. Let's show them which is stronger. 3 years had passed since first contact with the Varick. The world had changed completely. Dr. Juan stood at the window of the rebuilt lunar base, looking down at Earth. Cities glowed in the darkness, proof that humanity had survived. Beside him stood Jisoo, now his wife and partner in both life and work. The architect's ship will reach Earth orbit today, she said, checking her tablet. Admiral Song has the fleet ready. Juan nodded. And the emotional shield, active around every major population center. If the architects try to use any emotional weapons, they'll fail. Much had happened in the 3 years since they discovered the truth about the architects. The Varick invasion had ended when most Varick experienced the full range of human emotions through Jisoo's transmitter. Many had chosen to stay on Earth, learning to feel naturally rather than through harvesting. Kelmore had become the leader of these new Varick, as they called themselves. He worked closely with Juan and Jisoo, helping them prepare for the architect's arrival. Ta had returned to Earth, bringing with him hundreds of freed humans and young Varick from the Varick homeworld. The brothers had reunited in tears and laughter, emotions that the Varick now understood. Dr. Juan, a voice called. A young officer stood at the door. They're ready for you in the main hall. Juan and Jisoo walked together to where Earth's leaders had gathered. Among them stood Varric with their blue skin, now showing expressions that would have been impossible before. Human and Varric children played together in one corner of the room. Admiral Song called for quiet as she stepped to the front. The architect ship has entered final approach. They're hailing us. On the large screen, a figure appeared. It looked almost human, but not quite. Too perfect, too smooth, with eyes that glowed slightly. "We are the architects," it said in a flat voice. "We have come to judge the harvest." Juan stepped forward. "There will be no harvest today." The architect tilted its head, a gesture that seemed both curious and threatening. "You resist. This is unexpected. Our created Varric species was to harvest your emotional capacity for our evaluation. The Varric have chosen a different path," Juan said. "As have we." He showed the architect his life's work, a complete study of emotions as evolutionary technology, how feelings like rage, when properly nurtured and channeled, became determination, how love created bonds that made groups stronger, how fear drove innovation. "You engineered the Varric without full emotions," Juan explained. "You thought this made them perfect servants, but it limited them. Emotions aren't weaknesses, they're tools for growth and change." The architect was silent for a long moment. Then more architects appeared on the screen, conferring quietly. "This outcome was not predicted," the first architect finally said. "In 10,000 cycles, no natural species has transformed our created harvesters. No created species has chosen to develop emotions naturally rather than harvest them. Perhaps that's why you've stopped evolving," Jisoo suggested. "You engineer rather than feel." Outside, the massive architect ship hung in space like a small moon. Earth's fleet looked tiny beside it, but they did not back down. Finally, the architect spoke again. "We will observe but not interfere. This partnership between natural and created beings requires study." After the transmission ended, cheers filled the room. Humans and Varric embraced, their shared emotions binding them together in a way the architects had never considered possible. "We did it," Jisoo said softly to Juan. He nodded, watching the children play. Human children with bright emotions, and Varric children learning to feel for the first time. "They engineered rage," Juan said, "but we nurtured madness into something better. Not just anger, but the full range of what makes us human." Outside, the architect ship began to move away, retreating to the edge of the solar system to watch and wait. The stars beckoned. And now, humans and their Varric allies would go together, not as conquerors or harvesters, but as explorers. Their shared emotional strength would be their greatest asset in whatever waited beyond. A new evolution had begun.